Hello, and welcome to Warhammer 40k's Grim History from the Beyond. I'm Zeckthar.
And I'm Yuksen.
And we are the chroniclers of all that was, and all that will be in the 41st millennium. We've seen the rise and fall of many empires, and this month we'll be discussing the mysterious militant wing of the Ordo Xenos, the Deathwatch.
Indeed. This month we will chronicle their strange organizational structure, what impacts they have had on the Imperium, and of course, notable characters. Alright, Zeckthar, what are we going to be talking about this week?
Well, this week we shall be discussing the more famous Astartes from the Deathwatch. That's right, the notable characters.
Fantastic! How about I start with Maximian Voss?
Absolutely, brother. We must start with him. After all, there are those who think very little of him, thinking he doesn't measure up to the rest of the Astartes brethren.
Now, that's not very nice, Zeckthar.
Oh, don't get short with me, brother. It's not my fault that some have dwarfed his mighty deeds and feats of strength.
Are you finished?
He's short. No, okay, I'm done. Carry on, sir.
Yes, Sergeant Maximilian Voss was much shorter than the average Space Marine, probably because of some quirk or defect in his gene seed. He compensated for his lack of height with rigorous physical training, developing his muscles to a degree that made him immensely strong, even for a Space Marine. His power armor had to be refitted to accommodate his bulk several times, until finally his captain ordered him to stop growing.
Kind of a mighty might.
Yeah. Now, before I talk about his Deathwatch experience, it behooves me to mention what chapter he comes from and how he was chosen to be a Space Marine. To do so, I need to briefly talk about the Wolf Pit. Now, the Wolf Pit is the Juve wing for males in an Imperial prison called Blackfort. Those who are in the Wolf Pit will find themselves forced to kill other Juve prisoners in order to survive.
Oh, so kind of like the Agoge?
The what?
The Agoge. Ancient Greece, Spartans. Ancient Greece of Terran 42, I should say. The Spartans?
I'm not familiar with that. Could you please explain?
Certainly. Okay, so as some of you may know, our listeners, especially listeners from Terran 42, the Spartans were considered back in the ancient time, probably the greatest warriors of all time. And one of the reasons for that is because they trained these men from boys to men, pretty much. And the Agoge was that experience. It wasn't a good experience, but it was the experience. The best way that I've found it quoted was that it was talking about a particular boy that was run through the Agoge. And it was, as I quote, as is customary in Sparta, the boy was taken from his mother and plunged into a world of violence. A Spartan warrior society to create the finest soldiers the world has ever known. The Agoge, as it's called, forces the boy to fight, starves them, forces them to steal, and if necessary, to kill. By rod and lash, the boy was punished, taught to show no pain, no mercy, constantly tested, tossed into the wild, left to pit his wits and will against nature's fury. It was his initiation. Kind of like that?
No, this is more of like, we're throwing you in this wing and you have to fend for yourself, which basically meant you had to kill other people to survive.
Okay, so
we
that
will.
part's similar.
Yeah. This isn't a training thing. This is, let's see if you'll survive.
Getting rid of you. So this isn't a training thing. This is we're getting rid of you.
Yeah.
Okay, but is there any similarities at all?
Well, they do fights to the death and are also allowed to take place in an arena.
Oh. Well, what's that about?
It's allowed by Blackfort's chief wardens, and the prison's shock baton wielding guards have the right to place bets on the fights. So in other words, I think Jimmy over here will kill Sam. How much do you want that?
So this is okay. So if we're gonna put it back in like ancient Tyrion 42, this is like a mixed breed between the Agoge and the gladiator ring from Rome.
Yeah.
Kind of?
Kinda.
Okay. I'm
I
pulling
would
the
point
strings
it
here.
more close to gladiator games, since those were
Okay.
generally prisoners that were pitted against each other.
Oh, fair enough. I don't know. It kind of caught my head, anyways, just on the concept that these are, these are juvenile boys. These are,
Yeah.
youngsters that are kind of tossed into prison.
Right.
But anyways, how does this wool pit work?
Well, many Jews have breathed their last on its sandy floor, and the fighter with the highest deaths to their name is known as the Pit Champion. On the rare occasions the Imperial Fists contact the Chief Warden to see Blackfort's best Jew fighter, it is the champions the Warden selects for the honor. Though just being selected does not mean that the Pit Champion will become an aspirant. Instead, the champions must undergo a final fight against an adult Blackfort prisoner, which will be watched over by a packed crowd of prisoners, guards, and Imperial Fists themselves. The Pit Champions are not told any of this beforehand, however. Only important guests wish to see Blackfort's best Jew fighter, and that the champions will not be told about who they will face in the arena. This is done on the Imperial Fist orders, as the chapter wishes to see how the Pit Champions will adapt in a fight. The Wardens, however, are allowed to tell the champions that winning this final battle will change their lives forever. Should the Pit Champion succeed in killing their opponent, then they will be taken away from the prison to begin their training to become Imperial Fists.
So, real quick here. If I recall right, when we talked about becoming a Space Marine or Space Wolf, I think actually that was the one that we did it on.
Right.
Boys are taken at the age, and they start the process at the age of adolescence, right? Or right before adolescence.
Yes.
So
generally.
we're talking about like 11 to 13-year-olds here.
Yeah, 11 to 13 or 14, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I just got to understand this anyway. So they're expecting an 11-year-old boy to beat a full-grown man to death. Am I getting that right?
Well, not necessarily beat them to death. There may be like some sort of weapon that they're given or something.
Okay, well, maybe stab him to death or whatever, but to beat a full-sized man.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty steep.
And you thought Imperial Fists were one of the better chapters when it comes to recruiting.
Well, okay. Well, the Space Wolves, on the other hand, anyways, it's just like they take champions that are that age. That means that they went out and they killed several people. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to clarify on that. Carry on, sir.
Okay. Voss is known to have been recruited from Blackfort, and the former Pit Champion left the prison with 61 kills to his name. Most were Jews, obviously, but the last was the adult prisoner Grammond, whose death secured Voss's future as an Imperial Fist. After making a name for himself with the Imperial Fist, he was shipped off to the Deathwatch, and his long vigil ensued. Now, during his time with the Deathwatch, Voss gained the nickname Omni among the new inductees at Watch Fortress Damaroth, a recognition that he was adept at numerous fields: tech interface, weapons, vehicles, demolition, and of course, being Imperial Fist, fortification. As his eventual teammate Seifer Zeed, who may have coined the nickname in the first place, joked,
about the only thing he can't do is visit another space.
During close combat training, Voss stunned the watch sergeants on duty by ripping off the arms of a combat servitor with his bare hands, a feat that should have been impossible without the enhanced strength of his armor. Omni is a keen proponent of open combat, and like many of his chapter, once he had engaged in battle, found it difficult to withdraw before achieving victory. He and Zed formed a firm friendship and combat rapport early on in their service together, something that team leader Karis envied. Now, Voss is a fan of heavy weapons.
You don't say. The big fella, the short big fella, likes the heavy stuff.
Yeah. In fact, his favorites are the heavy flamer and heavy bolter.
Yeah, he can get along well with the salamanders, I think. Sorry.
You know, I hate to end this short description of the man.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Thank you. What do you think of this mighty mite? What of his character? And more importantly, would you want him in your kill team?
In my kill team? Yes. I would definitely put him in any ways as the heavy man. I mean, he sounds very tanky. He honestly, he sounds like fantasy dwarves. Right? Not very tall.
I do also notice
hang on, I've seen these. Not very tall, but they can lift, like a Subaru or an F-150. So it's like, yeah, let's give him the heavy stuff. Let's just let him slowly truck along and just murder everything in front of it. Yeah, he'd definitely be part of my team.
I do find it interesting how also, though, one of the things that he's done is basically to also overcome it. He focused on all areas instead of just going, yeah, I'll just buff myself out. And then the guy said, you need to stop. And so you just stop doing anything.
Well, that to me anyways is the most impressive part. He kept bodybuilding until his captain literally just told him, you need to stop.
You can't keep making adjustments to your armor. Stop it.
Well, it's not just that. It's just a simple concept that he was getting so big that, like meat-wise anyways, he was getting so big that he was becoming unuseful. From the stuff that I've read anyways, it was getting to the point where they're just like, look, yes, you're a mighty specimen and you're mite size, but at the same time anyways, I mean, if we need you to run someplace or, go through, anything, your muscles are getting to the point where they're so big that you aren't combat ready. That's kind of saying something.
Yeah. But like I was saying, the fact that he also went into studying different areas also.
Well, that's the thing that I think that it's, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. This is the thing that I find interesting about him is because when they told him, like, okay, no, you can't buff up anymore. He goes, okay. Then therefore, anyways, instead of just powering off in the corner or just doing my reps every day, I'm going to actually exercise the one muscle anyways that they told me that I can, and that's my mind.
Right.
And he just goes ahead and anything that you need anyways out of this guy. This is another reason why I would definitely want him on my kill team, is because, I mean, he might not be the best anyways fighting the Eldari. I mean, he's too big to be fast at this point. But at the same time anyways,
well, fast is relative. He is still a space marine.
Yeah. Fair enough. But at the same time anyways, what I mean by fast is like Eldari standards. But at the same time anyways, he's exercised his mind. So therefore anyways, if we're going to be fighting Eldari, he'll be like, well, I read all these books anyways, and I know and I've seen anyways all how we can combat the Eldari. Would you like to know more? It's like, well, yes, I would definitely like that.
I know the codes. No.
Exactly. I know the cheat codes. All your bases are mine! Exclamation point. Sorry. Well, yeah, I mean, he knows anyways, and he has done his research, and now anyways, he's a thinking mite, along with being a strength mite, which to me
Right.
anyways makes him so much more dangerous and so much more entertaining. I mean, you know what a great okay, so if I was gonna pick a kill team, this guy would definitely be on it, and then what's his name? The Mountain.
Hager?
Space Wolf. Hager. Thank you. Yeah. I would definitely put Hager on this team. Not because I think, by the way, I think they would both do very well on a kill team. It's just more along the lines of just the conversation between the two would just be so great. He's so fantastic. You've got one guy, anyways, that is never grew up to his full standard. And then you've got one guy, anyways, who is too big for everybody.
And actually overweight.
And overweight. And you put them together, anyways, and just their conversations, to me, anyways, would be worth selling tickets for.
Hey, I know how you can get rid of that extra weight. What?
Yeah. As he's swilling down another keg of Fenrisian beer and eating a mutton chop in the other hand. What do you mean?
Yeah.
His boss is sitting there just shaking his head. Just, we can make you more fit. And as Hagar, anyways, picks up a great power hammer, anyways, and throws it 200 yards and goes, can I still do that? Well,
better. You can do it better. You can throw it twice as far.
Really? I don't know, actually. I really don't know. But I've got the weight material anyways, so that we can actually get you a little bit more bulked up. Meanwhile, anyways, what's his bud? Hagar's
Torrin?
bud. Torrin. Torrin is just sitting there and was shaking his head and just going, no, he doesn't need to bulk up. No. Well, Hagar kind of elbows him and goes, well, if he's right, I might be able to lift a whole mountain. It would just, I think they would be like the comical team that would be great in a kill team. I don't know. What do you think? Who would you put? Okay, so real quick before we move on, who would you put in a kill team? And not, and I'm asking anyways, not as like strategically the best. I'm saying the most entertaining.
Well, I would have Voss in it.
Right. Would you put
and
Hagar in it too?
maybe.
Oh.
Probably a discriminatory space brain would be pretty comical to put in there.
What do you mean? Just
Somebody-
a random space marine?
It's like somebody that look at him and go, why is this guy even here? He should be here. He's too short.
And by the way, I'm not mentioning it. I'm not saying anyways anybody in the Deathwatch. I'm saying any space marine we've covered. I'm thinking the Jackal's got to be in there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just comedically, he has to be in there. If we're going entertainment wise, Voss and the Jackal, jeez. Voss would probably kill him by the time the mission was done, but it would be funny.
Only that because he'd know about that grenade that's inside of him.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Well, no, he'd throw him far enough away. He's big enough to do that. Or he's strong enough to do that.
Well, he's big enough too. Just width-wise.
Yeah. I'd probably put Hagar in there too. Okay, we got 5 people that we got thrown here.
So we have 2 more.
Yeah, we got Voss. We got the Jackal, Hagar.
And it's Lucas the Trickster.
Oh, Trickster. Yeah. Sorry. Lucas the Trickster. I keep thinking Jackal for some reason. Is that his nickname or?
No,
somebody else.
Trickster is the nickname.
The Jackal, for some reason, anyways, I'm thinking of a different person. My bad. But if only I could remember who that was, it would be perfect for the skill team. But, So we just need, okay, first off, we do need, at this point anyways, we need a straight man, right?
Right.
So we need somebody that is just like the straight up, it's got to be an ultramarine, right? This is what the space book says.
Well, let's see. Which ones have we come across?
Maybe Cato?
Cato Sicarius?
Yeah. I mean, he's straight up just, this is what we do, right?
It's like, and then to counter that, we go with the old guy. What was his name?
Oh, that would be perfect. The guy I'm actually going to be talking about next. Actually, that is perfect. So the last guy that we'd actually plug in is probably the next guy I'm going to be talking about, which is Szobczak.
Okay. Why don't you tell us about Szobczak?
Well, so a couple of heroes I picked for this anyways are a little different than our usual chiseled jaw space marine.
And Voss was?
Indeed, Yuksen. I noticed that you would be discussing about Voss, so I figured I'd just go with it. Now, the first hero I wish to discuss is a dreadnought by the name of Szobczak.
Interesting. You know, brother, we have kind of danced around dreadnoughts. Perhaps you explain what a dreadnought is as well.
I thought you'd never ask. Now, strangely, dreadnoughts are often mistaken by mortal observers for huge suits of battle armor, or robots. And they are similar to both, and yet neither. Dreadnoughts are a combination of armored walker and cybernetic life support system. Their pilots are neurally linked straight into the dreadnought cybernetic systems, and are able to use the walker as if it were their own body, although they are permanently in tune within its ceramite skin until they are destroyed. You see, when the greatest of Astartes are crippled beyond compare in combat, the Battle Brother's body will be repaired and transferred into an armored cyber-organic sarcophagus, outfitted with extensive light support systems. This sarcophagus is then entered within the heart of the armored torso of a dreadnought, if there is even a spark of life left. The pilot himself survives only as a tightly curled and shriveled organic component deep inside the dreadnought, which is at once his reborn body and his tomb. Sustained and kept alive within the sarcophagus, the link between his physical being and the dreadnought systems is absolute and for the remainder of his life. The Space Marine within the sarcophagus will control the robotic body of the walker and experience the outside world through a web of cyber-organic neural links and sensors implanted within his life support systems. The Space Marines encased within dreadnoughts are often thousands of Terran years old. As a result of their great age, many dreadnoughts, known as venerable dreadnoughts, are not only approached by their battle brothers for support in combat, but also as advisors in the governance of their chapter. In fact, we have mentioned the oldest dreadnought in the Imperium many a time, Bjorn the Fell-Handed of the Space Wolves, who was a member of the Primarch Leman Russ's retinue and fought in the Horus Heresy when he was still whole of body, making him well over 10,000 standard years old. When the dreadnoughts are not used by their chapter, they are placed back into the chapter's chapel in its fortress monastery to sleep away the centuries in a form of suspended animation until they are needed once more. As they sleep, the halls in the armory that houses the dreadnoughts are regarded as sacred shrines by the dreadnoughts' battle brothers. The Tech Marines delicately anoint them with sacred balms and oils on a daily basis. Dreadnoughts are highly revered by their brothers for their wisdom and strength, and some Space Marines attend them to pay their respects even while they sleep. Now, rare as it is for a Space Marine to be revered enough to become an old one, it is rarer even still for a member of the Deathwatch to achieve such a same honor. The circumstances of the small unit action undertaken by the Deathwatch kill teams often make it impossible to retrieve a fatally injured battle brother and enter him within a dreadnought cybernetic life support sarcophagus in time to be transported to a watch fortress. Even as such is achieved, the Space Marine must be worthy and willing to remain with the Deathwatch, effectively renewing their vows to serve with the Long Watch in perpetuity. Lastly, permission must be sought and received own parent chapter so that he may remain with the Deathwatch. Should all these difficulties be overcome, the armored form of the Deathwatch Old One is placed in a great hall with others of its kind, in one of a handful of hidden watch fortresses. There the Old One will sleep away the Terran centuries, until the Deathwatch text Marines awaken him to seek their knowledge or send him into battle once more. The creation of a dreadnought is a matter of great ceremony for a chapter, marking the rebirth of the Old One to the Emperor's service, once more as a fighting warrior, albeit with metal limbs and a fusion plasma reactor for a heart. A chapter's dreadnoughts are among its holiest relics of a bygone era, living links in the great chain of history that binds its members together and spans the millennia since its founding. They are walking icons, for a chapter's battle brothers will fight more furiously than ever in their presence. Beyond this inspirational effect, the wisdom and experience of an Old One is a mighty weapon in its own right. A dreadnought has learned the enemy's ways in countless previous engagements, such that every trick and stratagem is laid bare. As an icon on the attack or a bulwark of the defense, a dreadnought is an incalculable value to any Adeptus Astartes commander, bold enough to heed the Old One's advice and place it in the forefront of the action. If a dreadnought should be laid low in combat, it is considered a terrible stain on the honor of the chapter for it not to recapture the wreckage, so that the dreadnought body can be painstakingly reconstructed later. The Deathwatch possesses only a handful of dreadnoughts in a fortress scattered across the galaxy, and many Old Ones have been preserved for their unique knowledge of how to combat different Xeno species effectively. At other times, Old Ones remain in their halls as bodiless repositories of lore concerning old campaigns against extinct Xenos and kill team operations of centuries past. The value of an Old One's knowledge to the Deathwatch cannot be overestimated. Across the vast volumes of space overseen by the Deathwatch, contacts with some species of alien can come standard centuries apart, making an eyewitness to previous encounters invaluable. On other occasions, warp storms will slacken to reveal whole star systems unseen by humanity for millennia, but still remembered by the Old Ones that fought there long ago. In the past, Xenos thought long extinct have emerged from the dust to assail humankind once more. And the Old Ones have been able to vividly recall every detail of them, every strength and weakness they revealed, and each blow struck to lay them low. In all of these circumstances, an Old One can bring incredible clarity and sharp-eyed perspective to the dry reports and corrupted records that can be unearthed from musty data vaults, when such testimony can be found at all. It is a rare and valued kill team that is accompanied by a Deathwatch dreadnought into the field. Such a precious resource is only risked at times of greatest peril, and on missions that would be doomed to failure without their unique capabilities. Most Deathwatch dreadnoughts make use of the traditional weapons configurations handed down over uncounted centuries, like the Derrido with its power claws and heavy flamers, or the Furibundus with its twin-linked las cannon and cyclone missile launcher. At times of special need, however, Deathwatch Ford Masters have created many of their own armament variants based on these sacred designs, but more suited to exceptional environments and particular Xenos foes. In ages past, Deathwatch dreadnoughts have been equipped with siege hammers expressly for the purpose of overcoming orc fortifications, outfitted with quad autocannons for bringing down Eldari raiders, and mounted with additional flame batteries for clearing Hrud warrens. Such egregious interference with the sacred form of the dreadnought does little to assuage the concern of more traditional-minded chapters about the practices of the Deathwatch in this field. A kill team blessed with dreadnought support can face some unique challenges. A silent approach, for example, becomes almost impossible without extensive use of stunners or other specialist equipment. The local terrain must also be capable of supporting the tremendous weight of the war machine. In practice, a dreadnought is commonly kept in reserve, coordinating operations from an orbiting vessel. Once the enemy has been located, the dreadnought is normally inserted directly into combat via drop pod, Thunderhawk gunship, or teleportarium. Now, brother, remember when we discussed the Ordo Hereticus, and you described Inquisitor Fyodor Karamazov was the pinnacle of grumpy old man syndrome?
Yes, and if I recall, you agreed with me that he was the perfect candidate for the old man in a rocking chair waving his cane at children and hollering at them, "Get off my lawn!"
Indeed. Yeah, I think the venerable dreadnought Szobczak might give him a run for his money.
Really?
Yes. You see, Szobczak is an ancient and cantankerous Deathwatch dreadnought, formerly of the Imperial Fist Chapter's 5th Company. Another Imperial Fist, by the way. Extremely gruff and bitter, he has a tendency to relate everything to his past war experiences and can find even the most tenuous parallels between current events and his actions years before. If and when he becomes attached to a kill team, he will, every opportunity, ramble on about battles long since fought, lost battle brothers, and the particulars of why, in his day, Space Marines were simply better at everything. Does that sound familiar?
He definitely has the old man syndrome pretty bad. So this is probably the one that's like, you see this scar? I got it back in 47.
So,
I remember the time that we had to run 50 kilometers. We had these fancy jets.
yeah, could you imagine, anyways, putting him in a room with Feodor? That conversation would be great. It would piss everybody off, or everybody would just be on the floor laughing.
Well, not the latter, because then they'd probably be shot. But
anyways, he also has a tendency to react with surprising and often inappropriate anger or violence to even the slightest provocation. He can escalate any situation and excels at making mountains out of molehills. In all, Brother Szobczak is a very trying, capricious, and frankly dangerous companion. Traits that are only just made up for by his unwavering loyalty, his prowess in battle, and his incredible skill and breadth of experience. Now, Brother Szobczak is a wily and ancient dreadnought who currently serves as Watch Fortress Alric with the Deathwatch of the Jericho Reach. His origins are murky at best, for though the venerable Brother Szobczak is known to be superb at the art of sweeping aside enemy walls or fortifications, there is no information on how he came to be in the Jericho Reach. While Szobczak can remember his early days with the Imperial Fists and his first vigils with the Deathwatch well enough, he remembers little to nothing about his time as a dreadnought. He can offer no insight as to how he ended up at the Jericho Reach, or how he came to be entombed in the Omega Vault. Records at Watch Fortress Alric mention no Imperial Fist matching his name or description, and he is not entered into the list of battle brothers slumbering in the Watch Fortress chambers of elders, where the few dreadnoughts officially attached to the Deathwatch are kept. What is known is that Brother Szobczak was born a technomat by both training and inclination, hailing from the long-lost Imperial Forge world in the Gothic sector that was consumed by Chaos Invasion. He survived his trials as inducted into the Imperial Fist 10th Company Scout Marines in the late 34th millennium, where he served with distinction. As a scout, he exhibited an ability to size up the strengths and weaknesses of enemy positions and fortifications quickly and accurately with the merest of glance, and displayed a real genius for dealing as much damage as possible to fortifications with as few friendly losses as possible. He rose through the Imperial Fist companies and was sent to Mars for training as a tech marine. As a tech marine, Brother Szobczak was attached to the Imperial Fist 5th Company, where he distinguished himself as both a gifted siege engineer and tech priest. Few fortifications could stand against his critical glare and the pinpoint precision of his use of force, and he gained a reputation among his battle brothers for his miraculous ability to keep war gear functioning in the field with only the most basic tools and little in the way of materials or spare parts. For nearly 2 standard centuries, he served with the 5th Company, smashing the fortifications of thousands of Renegade and Xenos worlds. In the early 35th millennium, Brother Szobczak was seconded into the Deathwatch and took his oath of vigil at the long-lost watch station in the galactic east of the Ultima Segmentum. During his first vigil, he led a small, highly trained kill team composed of scouts and tech marines, renowned among the battle brothers of the Watch Fortress for their skills at infiltration and fortress breaking. At the end of his vigil, Brother Szobczak petitioned to be allowed another, as he felt that his work was far from complete in that part of the galaxy. He was granted his request and served 3 more vigils, acting as an infiltrator and sapper until he was grievously wounded in a campaign supporting the Austrian Militarum against an orc rogue. His experience, vast knowledge of siege tactics, and his unique insights into the tactics of Xenos were deemed so important to the Deathwatch that he was honored to be placed in a Deathwatch dreadnought so that he could continue to serve. So, we talked about a 5-man kill team, right?
Yeah. This guy would fit in with that.
For entertainment, I would throw this guy in.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
And what do you think of the guy, by the way?
He sounds like one of those Camp 42, my old man, sort of old man's.
Well, play back in my team.
He would say, you had to walk 15 miles uphill to get to school.
In a snowstorm, both ways. Yeah, he does sound very much like that. But he would be perfect for this entertaining kill team, right?
Right.
So, but we do need a fifth. So who would you plug in for a fifth?
Let's see, who did we have? We had 5. We had Hager, Lucas, Voss, Szobczak, and Cato, Sicarius.
You know what? I think anyways we should replace Cato though.
Really?
Probably, yeah, with probably the next guy. It would be far more entertaining. The next guy you're going to be talking about, Alric.
Well, in a brotherhood of secret keepers and vigilant sentinels against the darkness, the Black Shield known as Night Warden Alric is himself a mystery come forth from the depths of the void. The Battle Brother has proved to be indispensable to the dead Cabal's goals, an unexpected source of wisdom concerning the dark pattern and the beings that may have created it. In particular, the Night Warden has provided the dead Cabal with nearly prophetic insight to the working of the Szobczak dynasty, his knowledge of the Necrons rivaling even those of Forge Master Zeril.
Okay, hang on half a second. Who are the dead Cabal?
So, the dead Cabal are a secret and select group of Inquisition that are concerned with the dark pattern occurring within the Jericho Reach. For those who don't know, the dark pattern is a pattern of dead worlds in the Jericho Reach that has long concerned the Deathwatch and the Order of Xenos Masters.
So these dead worlds, are they part of the Hadex anomaly? Or at least the world within the Hadex anomaly?
A celestial phenomenon that may have led to the instigation of the Long Watch to begin with in the Reach, long before the Chaos Crusades.
Okay. Well, you didn't answer my question. Are these the worlds that are around the Hadex anomaly?
I am not sure.
So for you who haven't listened to, I've been doing a thing on the Achilles Crusade, which has to do with the Jericho Reach. And the Hadex anomaly is a rift between real time and space and the warp. Very much like the Eye of Terra or the Maelstrom. The difference is that the Hadex anomaly is significantly smaller. And it has this annoying habit of moving around in space. But where it's normally centered, there's a few planets that kind of revolve around the Hadex anomaly.
No, these won't be those.
Okay. So what planets are they?
It's basically a web of different dead worlds in the Jericho Reach area.
All right. So hang on. Let me pull up the map here. Jericho. Okay, here we go. Okay. Where is it in the Jericho Reach?
So it started like in the outer reach of Jericho Reach and moved inwards.
Oh. So where did it start?
Well, they don't know exactly where it started. They just know where they are.
Okay. But could you give us some planets anyways that they're actually looking this pattern through? So what is the pattern, by the way? Why is it important?
Well, when you have a whole bunch of planets that randomly become dead and you don't know the cause, now they're thinking the cause may be in relation to Necrons. Hence
Really?
Why Alric would be such a boon of information.
Yeah, he definitely would. Well, we could probably talk for a whole Vox about the Jericho Reach and all the interesting things the Deathwatch are doing in it. But why don't we get back to Alric, shall we?
Yes. Now, how the Battle Brother came to know about the newly awakened Xenos foe remains a mystery. But unlike Matthias, Zerl, or Renan Triel, Ulrich was a Battle Brother of the Deathwatch for not but a solar day before he sought out Inquisitor Valain Rameus by name and pledged his assistance to the Dead Cabal and their search for answers beyond the stars. So he was able to, the day that he became a Deathwatch, hunt down this one person who just happened to be part of a secret group of the Inquisition, hunt him now by name, and pledges assistance.
No, the Legion.
It's like, yes. I mean, I don't think they ever say what group he came from, just he's a Black Shield. Even the Night Warden's arrival at Watch Fortress Arioch defies explanation. He arrived unheralded aboard an unmanned shark assault boat which had been filled to the limit with fuel for its plasma drives. As the ship possessed no capacity for warp translation, such a journey must have taken centuries from even the nearest system, and its engines had long since run cold. Found seated on the command throne, clad in unadorned suit of steel-colored Terminator armor, and deep in a state of self-induced suspended animation, Alric was taken to a holding cell on the outskirts of the Watch Fortress. Urged awake by chem stimulus and psychic insistence, the Night Warden's first words were not of confusion or distress, but of firm acknowledgement. He insisted that he be brought before the Chamber of Vigilance of the Watch Fortress, and that Inquisitor Ramius would know of his urgency. Under close guard, Ulrich was granted the audience he requested. What the Black Shield divulged to the Chamber of Vigilance, or what connection he has to the Inquisitor, is unknown, though his brothers among the Dead Cabal have postulated a number of theories. Whether or not their guesses have come close to the mark, Ulrich remains silent on the matter. Despite the speculation, it is certain to all that the Chamber of Vigilance is satisfied with the Night Warden's account of himself, and they are convinced that his purpose is righteous. The Black Shield emerged from that council as a battle brother of the Deathwatch, and was immediately set to active service under the direct purview of Inquisitor Remius herself. He has since made no account of his past or his chapter, making no mention of where he came from or why he had sought out the Deathwatch. It pressed the taciturn warrior states only that his way was guided by the will of the Emperor. Since taking the long vigil, Ulrich has labored tirelessly to make safe the Jericho Reach from the horrors that rise from the depths of eons past, while Matthias shepherds those newly sworn to the long-dead vigil, and Zerl and Renan Triel endeavor to learn ever more about the lost worlds of the Jericho Reach. The Night Warden takes it upon himself to stand as a bulwark against the darkness. Given operational direction to roam the stars alone, Ulrich acts as a roving knight errant, confronting evil where he finds it, and safeguarding those who fall victim to the eldritch horrors of the dark pattern. During his tenure among the Deathwatch, the mysterious Battle Brother has earned a reputation for arriving unexpectedly and without warning, where he is needed most. The members of no less than a dozen Deathwatch kill teams owe their lives to the Silent Warrior, each facing insurmountable odds only to find salvation in the arrival of the Night Warden, his head bowed in silent salute, and his power flail swinging. Not even his brothers within the Dead Cabal can say how the Night Warden knows where he is needed, though the unquestioning certainty with which he conducts himself defies the notion that his actions are without direction. The Black Shield himself offers little by way of explanation, only that he walks the road of fate, in winding course laid out in a time long distant. Now, Night Warden Alric is something of a contradiction to other members of the Deathwatch. While his demeanor and bearing are distant and cold, even by comparison of the surly master of the forge, Zeril, the Black Shield is the only member of the Dead Cabal to treat all of the Dead Station's vigils as equals, rather than his subordinates. Unlike his brothers in the Dead Cabal, Alric does not delegate tasks to vigilants serving on the Dead Stations, instead preferring to act on his own behalf. For this reason, despite the propensity for long brooding silence, Alric is particularly well regarded among the Bell brothers serving the Dead Cabal, especially among those who have found themselves in need of his battlefield intervention. The nature of the Night Warden's mission and the independence with which he is wont to operate make it unlikely that a given Bell brother will ever encounter him in times of peace. Indeed, for these same reasons, the Black Shield can act as a guardian to them while far afield, undertaking missions deep in the stellar wilderness of the outer Jericho Reach. In such situations, it is unlikely that a kill team will even be aware of his watchful presence, the Night Warden only revealing himself, if truly necessary, for the survival of his brethren.
You have any more on this particular fellow?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good enough, because to me, anyways, this is probably the most interesting man in the world.
Well,
I mean,
he's Alfarius. No.
I was about to say he's Cypher. No. This is what you take if you had Alfarius or Cypher and made them ultimately loyal.
Well, to be honest,
he is the Maverick. I mean, I need to hear more stories about this guy, honestly. He sounds, like I said, he's the Maverick.
I mean, he could be Alpha Legion for all we know.
He definitely could. He could be Alpha Legion. He could also be a Dark Angel. I'm leaning more towards Alpha Legion. Just the way he does things. But he is definitely very much this guy, anyways, that's just like, I know what needs to get done, and I'll take care of it. And the Inquisition is like, well, I don't know if you can handle that. And he goes, I can handle it. And gives him a broad wink. And they're like, okay, go for it. And then he does. I mean, he just, I've read some of his stories. It's like literally like all hope is lost with kill teams. And all of a sudden he randomly teleports there in Terminator armor and saves them all. I mean, he knows where to go. And
awkward weapons to wield ever.
What's that?
A power flail.
A power flail. Yes. But still, I mean,
despite that, I mean,
well, no, that kind of makes him kind of the. Well, you know who this guy actually reminds me a lot of? The bounty hunters from Terran 42's story Star Wars. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Boba Fett or Jango Fett, actually. Just kind of the weird, quirky weapons that he has. He works alone normally. I mean, he reminds me of that, or, you know... Okay, so for those of you, anyways, that looked at my last post, growing up, anyways, my heroes were cowboys. And it reminds me, anyways, of, you know, kind of the lone sheriff. Or, you know, the guy who is out to fight for justice all by himself. The Lone Ranger, so to speak. Although the Lone Ranger had Tonto with him. But he just kind of reminds me of that, like a blend of that and then Jango Fett with all the quirky weapons that he's got. And I would just love to hear more stories about him. Well, especially because we don't know where he comes from. I'm guessing, like you just mentioned anyways, Alpha Legion. Or a Legion, a Traitor Legion. Can you agree with me on that, Yuksen? He's probably...
You mean a Renegade Legion?
No, I'm thinking he's from a Traitor Legion became a Black Shield.
Or Alpha Legion. Yeah.
Well, Alpha Legion technically is a Traitor Legion. But yeah, just that concept anyways. But he's still loyal to the Imperium, and he wants humanity to succeed. So he's there.
Or maybe he's just wanting humanity to succeed. Who cares about the Imperium? But
okay. Fair enough. And he does it so obtusely. Just the concept anyways, he does not, it seems like he doesn't really take a kill team with him. He just kind of goes off on his own and helps people.
Right.
He's also, yet again, like another cowboy that I'm thinking of, the Lone Ranger. I could just see this guy anyways. I mean, he seems like that Lone Ranger type. The cowboy, the maverick. I just want to hear more stories about him. And unfortunately, there is so few. And thank you, by the way, anyways, for giving us a few of them at least. Or at least a concept of who he is. But unfortunately, we only have enough time for one more hero. And then I figure anyways, the stallion that these people ride in on. Now, my next hero of the Deathwatch is yet another position we have skirted around, yet never really talked about, and that would be the Apothecary.
The mechs of the Astartes?
Yep, one and the same.
Well, yeah, we have skirted around them because their job is pretty easy to explain. They're medics.
True. There are some extracurricular activities that we should probably discuss, mainly gene seed harvesting.
But unfortunately, we do not have time.
Fair enough, brother. Then let me speak plainly of Watch Captain Esteban de Dominova.
Very well, speak clearly so we may know his way.
Yes. Originally from the Crimson Fist chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, de Dominova is an intense, laconic, sallow-faced battle brother with pale, colorless eyes, prone to brooding silences and piercing glares. Currently serving his 5th vigil with the Jericho Reach Deathwatch, the Watch Captain is a highly respected apothecary whose prowess in the operating theater has reached near mythic proportions among the kill teams with which he has served. Indeed, many a battle brother currently serving a vigil in the Jericho Reach owes their limbs, if not their very lives, to his quick thinking and sure hands. Along with his prodigious medical skills, and the usually finely honed warrior abilities possessed by every battle brother, Watch Captain de Dominova is also a noted xenobiologist, who is known to work closely with the Ordo Xenos and the Adeptus Mechanicus Magi Biologists in various capacities. These virtues, along with a more than passing familiarity with military intelligence and the comings and goings of the Inquisitors of the Ordo Xenos, makes the Watch Captain well suited to guide kill teams through upcoming trials. Indeed, it is often at his behest that a kill team is seconded to him. These requests tend to cause much discussion and chaff a few egos among the leadership of the Watch Fortress Arioch. The very soul of discretion, Watch Captain de Dominova is a hard battle brother to know. He is a closed book to all but his most trusted friends, and even those who can claim this distinction declare that they know precious little about him. As a kill team works closely with their new Watch Captain throughout a mission, he slowly opens up to them, revealing a pious and passionate battle brother, conversant in numerous learned subjects, fluent in a dozen languages, and possesses a very, very dry wit. Well, before we go, why don't you explain what these mighty heroes ride into battle on?
You mean the Corvus Black Star?
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
Right. Well, the Corvus Black Star is a sleek, deadly aircraft, which much prized by watch fortresses across the galaxy. Like a knife slipping in between the ribs of a colossus, the Black Star penetrates the outer defenses of the alien host to strike directly at its heart. Though small enough to slip through the sensor grids of most Xenos strongholds, its weapon systems are highly advanced, allowing the Black Star to cause devastating impact for a craft of its size. The war hangars of the Deathwatch are replete with every kind of aircraft the Astartes have ever sanctioned. However, such is the Corvus Black Star's quality that is used almost exclusively in kill team missions that involve air-to-ground engagement. Primarily, it fulfills the role of transport, combining the hurtling speed of the drop pod with the maneuverability of a Storm Talon gunship, and the offensive capability of a far larger craft. Propelled by vectored engines mounted on the wing and behind the airframe, the Black Star is nimble enough to dart through winding canyons, the elegant star spires of a craft world, or even the guts of a Tyranid hive ship, in order to bring a surgical strike to the enemy's heart. Once in position, it changes from fighter craft to hover vehicle with a twist of the engines, its front-mounted doors yawning open with a hiss of pistons, so that the Deathwatch operatives inside can leap out and charge directly into the fight. The pilot of each Black Star is a veteran Deathwatch tech marine who has earned the right to field it over long and arduous Terran years of schooling among the tech priests of Mars. The pilot uses the same machine each time. So intense is the training, the tech marine's indomitable will and that of the aircraft's machine spirit become interlinked. This allows the pilot to pull off aerial maneuvers so spectacular he can leave all but the pilots of the unnaturally skilled Eldari floundering in his wake. The Chorus Black Star's first priority is often to secure aerial supremacy. To ensure its kill team reaches the fray intact, the Black Star will plummet through low orbit to fall upon the aircraft or winged bioforms of the enemy like a raptor diving into a flock of prey. Once on the tail of its victims, it will shoot down the enemy craft it judges to be the greatest threat. While many Black Stars mount twin-linked assault cannons, some bear a prow-mounted las cannon array, able to channel the penetrative power of the Godhammer pattern guns to destroy heavily armored targets. Many of these craft carry a Black Star rocket launcher under their wings, equipped with a profusion of missiles. These allow the pilot to choose Dracos air-to-ground warheads that turn swaths of Xenos-infested ground into flesh-melting conflagrations, or Corvid rockets, whose spiteful machine spirits seek and destroy enemy aircraft so that their master might rule the skies alone. At a single thought impulse from the tech marine, these prow and wing-mounted weapons can be calibrated for strafing runs. In such circumstances, auxiliary grenade launchers mounted at the rear enabled the craft to rain down a hail of explosive projectiles, either in furnace grenades that detonate in clouds of burning promethium, or frag charges that hurl deadly shrapnel over a wide area. A full squadron of Black Stars can clear a beachhead among the Tyranid swarm in a matter of moments before their passengers descend to deliver the killing blow. It appears as if the Black Star spreads wings of smoke and fire behind it, a sight known to the chapter's warriors as the wings of the Sky Angel. Many a primitive culture, saved from the predations of the alien, has seen the Black Star that brought their deliverance as a mechanical seraph and worshipped it for generations afterwards. So, brother, what do you think about these awesome transport vehicles / air superiority?
Well, first off, they are definitely weapons of war. I think, anyways, they are far superior to the Thunderhawk. What do you think?
Not even a contest.
So I think they're like a mix between like if correct me if I'm wrong. They're like a mix between a Thunderhawk and like a what do they call them? Storm Talons, something along those lines, or Storm Eagle. Very much like a mix between a fighter pilot or a fighter craft and support / troop carrier.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question here before we take off. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's been concerning me.
Take off.
I didn't even understand that, but yeah, I got jokes that I didn't even know. But Here's the thing that I don't understand. So, okay, so we've got just not just this, it's also with like Thunderhawks, and all of them open from the front. That doesn't make any sense to me. Unless you're literally just like, the only way that's going to work is if you literally just drop and you land like a helicopter. But if you're like flying at, like breakneck speeds, the opening of a hatch in the front doesn't make any sense. Nobody's going to be able to get out unless they like crawl all the way to the front, even a space marine, which would be very, very sad to watch a whole kill team of Deathwatch guys crawling on their hands and knees anyways to the front of this aircraft so they can just kind of roll off the end. so why?
I think when it comes to some of them, they have a door on the side.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's true with this one, but this one is meant to actually get to ground, not drop you off while going at full speed.
So, okay, here's a question, I guess. Is there anything, anyways, that the Imperium has to drop off Astartes for like a halo drop?
No, generally they just drop them and they drop off.
So nothing, anyways, is like flying overhead, and we're just gonna like, or dropping even low, anyways. Is like we're just gonna drop them off. They're in this heavy armor; they can just go ahead and land. They got Raptor packs; they can do this. Nope, it's just we're gonna slow down to a stop, open up the front doors, so they can all jump out the front.
I guess land speeders, if they have enough height, you could do that.
But no ships.
Not really.
It's kind of depressing. Okay, well, you know what? On that very, very sad note, we are out of time. Join us next week for our Q&A. And ironically, last month, Yuksen, how we were going to have Sacrona on last month, and he had some problems. He's going to actually be joining us this month for a Q&A, and we are going to actually be doing some questions on who would win in the 40K universe versus other like things that are in Terran 42, like video games, very much like the Doom guy, or what's the other guy we were thinking of? Kronos? No, not Kronos. Kratos.
Yeah, which I know nothing about.
That's why we are getting Sacrona on here.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this box. Feel free to like, follow, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to check out the shop. We got some cool stuff there, like clothes, pillows, and hats.
And before my brother murders yet again another Latin name, don't forget to check out the giant panda. And of course, the conies.
The rabbits.
Yes, indeed. And as because next week is normally our Q&A, don't forget to put your questions in the comments so that we can answer them at the end of the month, which is next month. Next week, yeah. Which is next month. No, it's next week. You are correct.
We'll have one next month, but
we'll have another one. Yeah. Also, real quick, before this anyways, I have set up a post, and it's asking what you guys would like us to talk about next month. Now, next month anyways, that is up to you guys. We have the Imperial Fist, the Grey Knights, the Thousand Suns, and of course, Angron's boys, the World Eaters. Feel free to talk about that amongst yourselves and let us know anyways in your votes. Now, the month after that is actually fairly interesting because, Yuksen, as you know, we will be doing the Imperial Guard, and that's going to be taking 2 months. I mean, the Astra Militarum is too legendary to do just in 1 month. Don't you think, Yuksen?
I mean, we could probably do an entire month just on their tanks. I mean,
we could, We could indeed. But quite frankly, anyways, we figured we would do it in 2 months because it is too awesome to do in just one. And then after that, anyways, we will run in December, and we will probably have some interesting things that we will do then. Perhaps, maybe, Yuksen, we will run through Space Marine 2, the video game. We'll see.
I'm not sure about that, but...
Yeah. Well, we'll try. But...
we'll see.
Yeah. So for all of you out there, anyways, have a great day. And as always, until next time, this is Zeckthar.
And Yuksen.
Signing off.